Hi crafters, this is Paulette, and I just want to show really quickly how I made my Christmas cards this year. I bought the Hero Arts Sizzix set Holiday Cheer with these reindeer and sweaters, and I just think they're so funny. I ordered this really early this year so I would have it and not have to scramble. And so we're just going to quickly go through this. I did the sweaters in all different colors, stamping different colors on the sweaters, and I just think they're so funny. So anyway, we're going to do a yellow sweater and a red sweater for our demonstration. I've already cut down my card bases. This was 8.5 by 11 cardstock cut in half at 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. So that's my card base. I'm going to stamp both of my reindeer in some chocolate chip Stampin'UP ink. I guess let's go through real quick the stamps. We're using both deer, and we're using both trees, and we're going to use this very small snowflake. From Papertrey Ink, we're going to use In the Meadow We Can Build a Snowman, and we're going to use the little snowman. And then for my snowbank, I'm using this dotted stamp right here from Stampabilities, the paper studio, called Stitches. And I very simply curved that on my acrylic block. So we're going to stamp our deer in chocolate chip. So I just stamped both of my deer and put this one as close to the top as I can because the tree is pretty tall that goes underneath him. Now I need to clean these real quick. Get all that brown ink off because we're also going to use these to make our sweaters. Now I just went to my scrap folder and used up a lot of scraps this way. We're going to do our red sweater with Rich Raspberry ink, which is that kind of purple. And then we're going to do our yellow sweater with some pumpkin pie, which is a nice orange. So there's one. I got some wet wipe frizzies on my deer here. If you have a nice little paintbrush, we'll take that off. Oh, I did him on the wrong color. That's supposed to be on the red. And I'm fixing to get some ink on my mat. Okay. Now I was very strategic when I made my cards. I stamped, you know, heads over legs so I could utilize my paper and get that down better. So now we're going to line up. We need our flying deer. I'm going to use the die to cut out the majority of my sweater. I did try to freehand this, and you could really simply, but my hands are too old and they did not like that. So I am going to use my painter's tape. Stick it on your clothes so it doesn't tear your paper. And then just line it up. Line it up and tape it down, and you can run both deer at the same time, which is what we're going to do. Now my machine is not in camera, but I think we're all used to die cutting. And we're just going to pop that out. And then we're just going to take some small scissors. And I trimmed really close because I didn't want the extra lines from the body in there. So I just trimmed really close. And they turned out really adorable. So there's one sweater. These deer would be really cute just in the colored cardstock. They're so funny. I just had to have them. Okay, there's my sweaters. And I just used my ATG and I just put one strip of glue on each one. I'm just rolling back the adhesive and just line these up. Oh, they're so funny. Okay, now we're going to do our trees. I did the largest tree in going, is it going green? No, it's green galore. Green galore. And I put it right in the armpit of this deer in the top. Just like that. And then we're going to take Old Olive and stamp the little tree. Now there's 3 tree dies in this set, but just 2 tree stamps. So, and then what I did was I am going to breathe on my stamp and do a secondary stamping. And I moved the trunk down just a little bit so it would be a little bit different, a little bit shorter. But I think that gave a really pretty secondary stamping. Then we need to do our sentiment. And don't you think in the meadow we can build a snowman? Doesn't that seem like the perfect discussion that reindeer in sweaters would have? That's why I chose it. I thought it would be so funny. And just right up here in the top. And I did that in the Reindeer Archival ink. And then we're going to do our little snowflake. And I'm doing it in Tempting Turquoise from Stampin'UP. Now, I'm only going to ink this once. And I stamped the first one here, the second one in the top. Breathe on it a little bit and get that last one. And don't overstamp. I overstamped on that one and got that halo business. And then I had to really trim my stamp. A good tip for that is, now I cut off, let's just pull it off the block so you can see. I cut off, that was my first cut, and then I didn't want to take all this surface area away so that it would still stick to the block. So what I did was I came in with my scissors and I just cut the rubber. I didn't cut the foam. I cut the rubber just really close and left. You can see how there's extra foam here. That way I still have my surface area because some of these don't want to stick to the blocks. So that made that work out pretty good. Okay, so that's it for the outside of the card. Now for the inside, I'm doing my little snowbank. with this stitched. And I did it pretty low. And then my snowman in the tempting turquoise as well. Right there. And then the snowflake again. And the same thing as on the outside, I did the strong one in the middle. The next one close to the snowman, breathe on it, and get a third generation right there. Faint, but it's there. I'm going to write my little message and sign our names down here. And then I'm going to stamp the back. I have a special stamp that my daughter got me that has my name, and then you can put the date on it as well. So anyway, pretty fun. I think people will enjoy that. I was really tempted to use the little snowman set from Papertrey Ink because I love snowmen. My cards are usually snowmen, but I had to use these deer because they're just so funny. So thanks for joining me.